Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me today. My name is Tina, also known as Blooming Knitter, and this is Knitting Blooms. Thanks for joining me. I have a bit to share with you today. First of all, I am going to try to start doing a weekly recording, like my regular recording like this today. I'm going to try and start doing that again. I did stop that, I think it was last summer, after, during the summertime, because I just needed a bit of a break. And now I think I'm going to go back to doing weekly recordings. I'm still going to try to get tutorials out every couple of weeks, but I think I'm going to try and get weekly recordings at least during the winter, because I think I'm finding that in the summertime I'm just not knitting as much. So we're going to play it by ear, and that is my plan. Even if it's a very short episode, say 20 minutes or so, I still would like to try and record weekly. In fact, that's what I'm going to try and do, is have a shorter episode around 20 to 30 minutes and record on a weekly basis. Again, I'm not sure if that is always going to happen, but that is the current plan. So this week, the last clue of the mystery knit-along came out. I'm very excited to start seeing the finished objects. In fact, some of the people who were just doing the small have already posted some of their finished objects, and I just love seeing them. I had the pleasure of being able to see some of my test knitters' large shawls in person. Was it last weekend? And they were just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I actually had goosebumps looking at their shawls. They were so gorgeous, because I have not finished my large yet. I've only finished my small. And as much as I like the small size, the large size is even more incredible. So I can't wait to finish my own large. I believe I am on chart, well, it's clue 5. I think it's chart 7. I think that's the clue I'm on. I'm not going to show it to you today because I really have not gotten much done since the last time that I worked on it. But I'm hoping that I will start working on it a little bit more, although I've kind of been a little distracted with some new projects, which I will be showing you today. But anyway, yeah, so the clue came out this week, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's. Now, there is a finished object thread in the Ravelry group. So if you are interested in having a chance to win a $20 gift certificate to your favorite Yarny website, like Webs or Knit Picks or Jimmy Bean Wool or whatever, go and post your finished objects. You have until the first week or so of December to do that. So go and do that. Even though I have been doing a lot of knitting this week, I still have been playing a lot of Sims as well. I'm still very much enjoying it, and I'm really enjoying having you fellow knitters come and join me over on that other channel, my Sims channel, and share your experiences as well. And I hope more people get interested in it as well, but I have been playing a lot of Sims. I foresee this being a continued thing, and I'm hoping that it doesn't eat into my knitting time too much. But just the fact that I have been able to get so much knitting done this week and play Sims at the same time, I think it will end up working out okay. So if you are interested in seeing those videos, you can check out my Sims Let's Play channel on YouTube. It is Tina Loves Sims on YouTube. Just search for Tina Loves Sims and you should be able to find me. If you can't find me, let me know and I will be happy to send you a link. I did want to give you an update on my THM diet. I am still doing the diet. This past week I did have a bit of a falter. I think it was just one day that I was bored and I went for the chocolate. The first time since I started the plan that I ate regular chocolate. And I can tell you that my body was not too happy about it at the afterwards. So I can tell that my body is doing much better on the plan when I don't, have that sugar or the chocolate. I think it's mostly the sugar. But I have been consistently losing. I've been on the plan now since I think it was the middle of July. And I have noticed that about every 6 to 8 weeks so far, I mean, this has been the pattern so far, I kind of hit a bit of a plateau and I kind of stabilize for a minute or for a couple of weeks. And then if I don't start losing after a couple of weeks, then I will change things up a bit and then I'll start to lose again. So if you are trying this, I know, be quiet please. So if you are trying this Trim Healthy Mama diet and you have hit a plateau, don't get discouraged. Just keep plugging away and maybe try changing things up again a little bit. Like maybe if you haven't been having fuel pools, have a couple of fuel pools instead of one of your other meals, and just change it up a bit, shock your body. That is the way to do it, because that is what makes your body react and then get back on track. So I have been very successful so far and I plan to continue it, and I also plan not to have that regular chocolate anymore. I did want to take a moment and mention a new pattern that has been released. It is the Grace Pullover, and this pattern is a fundraising effort for the designer's friend, and she is also a fellow knitter. The pattern is a pullover sweater for girls. It will be out in adult sizes early next year, but currently it is only out for children's sizes 2 through 10. And the reason that this, I think her name is Maria. Yes, Maria. Maria created this pattern as a fundraiser for her friend and the family because they lost their father and husband earlier this year. So her goal is to try and sell 1,000 patterns by the end of November. And all the proceeds after Ravelry fees and PayPal fees and what have you is going to go to the family. So I am personally going to be giving away 2 patterns on the podcast, and there is a thread already set up in the group, and it's called, the thread is titled Important, a Must-See Pattern, Grace Pullover. So if you are interested in a chance to win a copy of this pattern, please go over to the thread and just enter for your chance to win. 1 entry per person, please. I'm noticing that we have a little bit of chatter in that thread, so just go ahead and post to the thread, and then I'm going to draw a winner in a couple of weeks before the end of November, because I want it to count in her goal. So yeah, it's a very cute pattern, and a couple of people have already asked about adult patterns, which is why I know that it's going to be coming out later in January or in the early part of next year. So go and check it out. I have a few pictures that I'm going to post here for you, but yeah, just go look at the thread and order the pattern, or send it to a friend, because it's a great reason to help somebody out that is struggling right now after the loss of a spouse. Okay, I'm going to start with spinning today because really there isn't any. I haven't done much spinning. In fact, I haven't done any spinning in the last 2 weeks. I have had good intentions to sit down and spin. One day I was going to spin, but then my battery was dead for my e-spinner, and I could have plugged it in with the plug, but I was lazy. So I did charge the battery, but I never got around to spinning. And I've thought about bringing it over close to my chair a few times so that I could sit in the evening and spin, and then I end up just picking up another project. So I will get back to my spinning. I know it's one of those things, again, with the weather change, I'm going to be a little bit more inclined to do that. So hopefully you will be seeing some spinning sometime soon. I still have things on the bobbin that I need to get off the bobbin. That there's just no excuse for that. But yeah, I need to get back to the spinning. So let's get into the knitting. And I have a couple of finished objects. Well, one of them isn't quite finished yet, but I'm going to count it as finished because I've only got a small bit left to go, and I don't want to think about it after this week. I mean, I don't know. I might have another finished object similar by the next time I record anyway. But the first one is my Nantucket Red. And it's finished, but it's got all the ends, a few of the ends to weave in. I wove in some of them, but there's a lot of ends here. Anyway, it's done. I knit the collar last night. I was going to wear it today, but I really need to get the buttons or clasp. I think it's a hook and eye that is in the picture. Let me see if I can pull it up on my Knit Companion very quickly. But I believe that in the picture, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. In the picture it shows like a hook and eye. Yeah. Kind of like a hook and eye closure. And that's kind of what I'd like to get. Come on. There's not really a great picture to show you. But it fits nice. It's tighter across the bust, but I think that's the way that it's supposed to be based on the way that the picture shows in the pattern. But I will get a hook and eye closure, and in the pattern, the hook and eye starts at the top and then goes down about, it looks like to be about 3 to 4 inches. I'm not sure that I'll do that, or if I'll just, well, probably, because the top is really just the collar. Excuse me. But yeah, I had a couple little hiccups. Even I have hiccups. Everybody has hiccups in the knitting. So first of all, I was doing the sleeves. And the first sleeve I finished, I cast off, and I'm looking at it thinking, oh my gosh, this looks totally wrong. And I was trying to line it up and match it up to the hole for the front, and I'm like, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to finish the second one exactly the same and figure it out. I thought, well, maybe once I start pinning it together, it will all work out. Well, I blocked it, and as I was blocking it, I looked at the two fronts, and it looked like one of the fronts was a little bit shorter than the other. And I'm like, I counted every single row. I had excellent notes on what I was supposed to do, when I was supposed to do it, what row I was supposed to do it on, and I was certain that I had, you know, calculated correctly and made note and did my little ticker every row. But one of them looked longer than the other. And one of them looked longer, you know, in the armhole depth. I thought, well, maybe it's just one stretched a little bit more during the blocking or whatever. So I just blocked it and went with it. Then I went to go, after it was all nice and blocked, I went to go and seam it up. And I laid the back out on the little hassocks that we have here. And then I laid the fronts on top. And guess what? The fronts were shorter than the back. And it was all in the armhole depth. And at first I thought it was just one armhole that was the problem. I lined I lined the front and the two fronts together, and one front was like 6 rows deeper than the other. So I had to rip back and back to the last decrease, because what you're supposed to do is knit so many rows, and then I can't remember exactly how it went. I think it was I had to one of them was more narrow. I think I cast off more stitches than I was supposed to. That's what it was. I'm like, this is crazy. So I had to rip that back and then re-knit that up. And then I got that done. And then I realized that both the fronts were like 8 rows too short. So then I had to rip it back again, rip back the one that I just did, and then rip back the second one, and then knit about 8 rows. So you can't really tell on this side, but on this side you can tell a little bit more where I had ripped back. Now you might not be able to tell on the camera, but I did have to rip back about that much in order to fix it. And those stitches are a little wonky because I didn't reblock it before I sewed it together. But once I wash it again, it'll be fine. So that was a little bit of a hiccup. But I had good notes. I don't know what happened, because I had excellent notes. After I kind of looked at it and counted rows and everything, I went back and I looked at the pattern, and I'm like, well, it's right here. It says I was supposed to go to row 50, and I was only on 42. So I don't know. I don't know what I was doing. I was making it up as... Shush. I was making it up as I went. But it's finished. I do have, like I said, a bunch of ends to weave in, and I want to get some closures. I'm not exactly sure what kind of hook and eye closure, if I want it to just be a basic hook and eye, or if I want it to be a little bit decorative. Haven't quite decided, but I'm glad that it's done, because now I can wear it to Knitopia 2015, because this is the fiber that I spun from Knitopia 2013, and then now I made it into a sweater. Now, there is one little problem, and I did make an adjustment for the sleeves. In the pattern, it talks about the width, the sleeve circumference, and I was thinking that the sleeves might be a little bit too tight, so I did add an extra 4 stitches and followed the instructions for that, but the sleeves are still a bit too tight. But that just means that I need to start lifting weights and shrink my arms a little bit more. If I'm shrinking my body, then my arms will eventually follow. And I think if I start doing some weightlifting, which Steve has been trying to get me to do, and get back into some heavy lifting, then I think I will be able to wear this sweater. And it's just a little bit tight around my arms, because my arms are a little fatty. So like I said, if I'm shrinking my whole body, then the arms will follow. But I love it, and I'm so proud that I spun this yarn and then I knit a sweater. It just amazes me. I love that. So let me put this away before Cody tries to get the yarn. So just a few ends to weave in, and then I can actually wear it. The next finished object, which I'm calling the finished object, oops, I'm going to have to go because I took out the other projects I was going to show you, and then I left them upstairs. The next finished object, though, that I'm calling a finished object but isn't technically finished, are, and it's an R. Let me find the other one, because there's 2. A pair of slippers. And I finished the first one, or nearly finished the first one, during a VKN 2 weeks ago. And because I can knit up a pair of slippers for my size in about 3.5 hours. Well, I spent the first probably half hour of the VKN untangling my yarn, because I thought about 30 minutes before the VKN started, I thought I'm going to get this started and I'll have it well underway by the time VKN starts. So I pulled out my yarn and I got yarn barf, big time. So I spent the next 45 minutes or so untangling my yarn. So I technically didn't start this until about a half hour into VKN, but I think I just about finished it. I might have had to cast off the bottom. I'm not really sure, but I was really close. I was really, really close. I would have finished this one in VKN had I not had that much time that I had to untangle yarn. Now the second one here is nearly done, but last night I created the second sole. So this has to be sewn on with the top part, and then the bumper needs to be done. But technically, I mean, that's like 2 rows. How can I not call that done? Then I still have to seam up the bottom, but that's another 15 or 20 minutes. So I wanted to show you those because I'm really happy that I got another pair of slippers completed. And my goal is to continue to make slippers. Every year I say, I'm going to make like 10 pairs of slippers and felt them at camp. And I never get to it. But my slippers are starting to wear out and I need more pairs. I think I have, this is the second pair for me to have like as a backup. And then I have 1 pair for Steve. So the next pair that I make will be for Steve. So we can have a couple pairs for backup. So that I'm considering a finished object, even though, like I said, technically it's not finished yet, but it's got maybe 45 minutes worth of work that needs to be done before it's finished. So hang tight while I run up and get the other projects that I forgot. So in addition to starting and nearly finishing the slippers, I also started 2 more projects. But before I get to those, I'm going to show you the progress on my simple socks. My basic socks. Now, I haven't shown you the black socks, which are huge, for a while. I can't remember if this one was done the last time. I have markers in here, but that was mostly for counting stitches. I think actually I did show you that last time. And then this was where I was on the second sock. But I'm almost, well, I'm about halfway up the leg. Yeah, I would say, ooh, I'm nearly done. Yikes. I think I might have even gone over. I'll have to count those rows. Yeah, I just was knitting away today. No, I think I still got a couple more rows. And then I have the cuff. So, yeah. Black, plain black socks. Not the most exciting thing to knit, but they are for a Christmas gift, so I want to get them done. So I have been working on those when I've been doing some stepping, you know, at the office or at home. So pretty boring, plain black socks, but they're coming along. And the second pair of socks that I have been working on, which I think I showed you last time, I have in my flamingo bag, which I love. And here are my socks. This sock is completely done. I just haven't cast it off yet. I don't know why. I procrastinate with that, but I do. I did a 3x2 ribbing at the top just because I wanted something a little bit different. I wasn't really wanting 2x2 because, well, technically I could have done 2x2 because I have an even number of stitches. I think I could have done 2x2. Anyway, I decided I wanted something a little different, so I did 3x2. And as always, I did my leg about the length of my foot. And then I did my cuff after that. And then here's the second sock. And actually I did this from, yeah, the leg of the sock over the weekend when we had a family lunch that we went to. So that was very productive lunch. And then the second sock is here. And I am getting close to being able to finish the leg. Let's hold them up. See, this is how my yarn gets tangled. So that's about how much I have left to go on the leg. Probably about 20 rows or so, and then about 20 rows of the cuff. And this is Socks That Rock, and I'm doing it on a size 1, which makes the knitting go by so much quicker because it is a thicker yarn. There's only 25 stitches. 50 stitches, 25 stitches on each side of the sock. So it does go very quickly. So those will be done by the next episode as well. So now for the projects that I've started. Last time I told you about the Ecuador project that I was going to start, and I'm using this yarn, which is, I want to say Ella Ray, but now that I think about it, I don't think that's the name. Let me see if I can look it up really quick. It's not going to be really quick, but I think I already put a project page up. Maybe not. I started this last weekend, and of course, I did not put a project page up. I put a project page up for the felted clogs. I can't remember the yarn now. But I showed it to you last weekend, and I had 3 skeins, and what I did was I broke each skein up into 2 balls, and then I mixed and matched them so that I'm alternating skeins, which is what I did with my Nantucket Red as well, because I had 3 skeins of that, and I didn't want to, I didn't want it to look like it had changed. So I still have quite a bit of yarn left over from that project, and I'm probably going to knit another sweater with that yarn. But I have started this. Whoops. And this sweater is a very unique construction. You start on the back and you knit basically a rectangle, and then you work around the outside of the rectangle in like short rows or what have you to create this circular kind of sweater. It's very interesting. But this is what it's looking like so far. I love the colors. It's just really going to turn out very cool. And like I said, I am alternating skeins to, just to make sure that you can't see that break where I change from one skein to the other. So right now I'm just working on the back. I think I have to do around 7 inches before I can start the other part. And I had hoped to have a little bit more progress on this sweater, but then I started another sweater, which I think I also briefly mentioned last time. And, oops, it's in this bag, which I got at Zombie Knitpocalypse last year. It's a nice, huge sweater bag. It's brown dog bags. And it is a knit swirl. Yep, I can't get enough of the knit swirl. So I've started another one. And I know it's green, but it's also purple. So far, I've knit 2 knit swirls completed, and they're both green. And now I'm knitting a third, and it is also green. but it is going to be primarily purple. I just wanted to start with the green, so the green accent was at the edge. But technically, it's hard to say, hard to see, because I have only done one row. But what it's going to be is it's going to be purple and then 2 rows of green, and then purple and then 2 rows of green. And the welts are going to alternate from stockinette to reverse stockinette. So yeah, so I guess this side is a little bit better to see, because this is what I've already knit. So you're going to have 2 rows of green between 2 rows of purple on that stockinette welt. So there's only going to be a green stripe, which I think is going to be really cool. And what is really awesome is that I bought this yarn. This is Cascade 220, and I actually bought 8 skeins of purple and like actually 3, I think it's 2 different colors of green, a lighter green and a darker green and a cream, because I was planning on doing some sort of striped sweater. Well, I could never decide what I was going to make with it. I think this yarn has been in my stash. I think we figured it out last weekend. It was since 2009. So it was high time that this came out of my stash. But I could never decide what sweater I was going to knit, so I never did, because originally I had planned on knitting a pullover sweater with stripes. But if you've been watching for a while, you know that I've stopped knitting pullovers because I just get way too hot, especially a worsted weight pullover. I mean, I would be steaming in that. So when I was flipping through the Knit Swirl book trying to decide what pattern I was going to do, I came across this pattern, and it's I think it's Perfect Plum, and it's actually done with a solid and a variegated that are similar in color. But I thought, this is going to be the perfect sweater for this little stripe. I did have only 1 skein. When I bought this yarn, I did only buy 1 skein of the light green, which is what I'm using. However, at some other point in my purchasing history, I purchased the same colorway. It was a different dye lot, but I figure it's not going to make that much of a difference, because you're just looking at this one little stripe and it's broken up by the purple. So even if the color is slightly different, it's not going to matter. And I may not even need the second skein, although because I did the outer ring of this in the green, and I also want to do the cuffs in green, there is a possibility that I will need part of the second skein, because I believe the pattern says only 1 skein of the variegated color for this pattern. So I'm excited. I cast on at Club, and I think I got like 4 rows done at Club. So I've been cruising right along, and what I like about the Knit Swirl sweaters is that pretty much once you cast on, it's just go, 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 go. You kind of get a rhythm. You know when you need to do your decreases, and you alternate between, usually you alternate between a stockinette and a reverse stockinette, or you have a couple eyelets in there somewhere. So it just depends on what the pattern is, but it's very easy. It's pretty brainless once you kind of have done it before. Now this is my 3rd time, so I kind of, have an idea of where I'm going and all that. This particular pattern is an off-center circle, which the other 2, well, it's the same pattern that I did before. The Tangerine Rose was a center circle. So this is going to be a little bit different for me, so that hopefully it'll break up the monotony of this pattern for me, because it's going to be slightly different. I want to think just by you know, I haven't even read through the entire pattern, but looking at the schematic and just thinking about it, I think there's going to be some short row shaping. My phone was buzzing and I was like, why do I feel that? Because it's in my back pocket. But I think there might be some short row shaping that create that off center. I'm not 100% sure about that, but that's my guess. Anyway, so I've started 2 more sweaters and I'm so excited. So yeah, I've got a lot of knitting done the last couple weeks. This is really the most knitting I have gotten done all summer, because I really wasn't knitting this summer at all. So I think that's it. I think I showed you everything. Yep, that's my knitting. Last week I posted a review for the Dishcloth Diva Knits On, and I am giving away a copy of that book. So if you have seen the review and are interested in getting a copy of it, just go over to the thread where I post the review and let me know which pattern you like the most and why you like that pattern. And in a couple weeks I will be drawing for a winner of that book. And I do have other book reviews that are going to be coming out in the next few weeks. I am hoping to get motivated again to do another review this weekend. It just depends on timing and whatnot. It almost takes me more time to do a review than it does to record a regular podcast, because there's a lot of editing, there's a lot of, you know, figuring out what I'm going to say about the patterns and what have you. It's almost like my tutorials. My tutorials they might be short little clips, but they actually take more time to record and to get right than I do just sitting down chatting with you. So I'm hoping to get at least another book review done in a couple weeks, within the next couple weeks. Hopefully by the time I draw a winner for the Dishcloth Diva Knits On. And I really want to make another couple of dishcloths from that book. As I was doing the review, I was really getting excited about a couple of the patterns again, and I would really like to knit a few more. I kind of want to do another one of the Lucille Bell patterns. I really liked that pattern in the book, and also the other one that I really was interested in was Olive. So maybe in the next couple of weeks I will get another one on the needles and off the needles, because they are so quick to knit. But I do have a few other books that I want to share with you as well. I also want to remind you that we are still doing the Knit Your Stash Challenge, even though we have been doing the mystery knit along. We are still doing Knit Your Stash. In fact, if you used stash yarn for your mystery knit along, you can enter it twice. You can enter it in the mystery knit along thread as well as the Knit Your Stash thread. We will be running this through the end of the year, and more than likely it's going to continue next year. I think what I'll do is that for the start of next year, you have to have your yarn in Ravelry by the end of this year. So if you are still kind of on the fence about getting your yarn in Ravelry, then start now. Or maybe even over one of the holiday weekends where you have a bit more time. Take some pictures and then start getting them uploaded into Ravelry. Because if you want to participate in the Knit Your Stash Challenge for 2015, then you will need to have your stash in Ravelry by December 31st, 2014. And again, if you have had all your stash in Ravelry before, then you should really only have to enter the new stuff that you've purchased this year. And other than my basically spending spree at Zombie Knitpocalypse, I have done very well this year, and all my yarn has come from my stash. Zombie Knitpocalypse was a little crazy, but I think when I mentioned when I showed you that yarn that every yarn that I purchased, I had never used that particular dyer's yarn before. Oh, except for Leading and Fiber Arts, but I think everybody else was a brand new dyer to me. So it was worth it. It was fun. You know, you have to have that every once in a while. But since then, I haven't bought anything. I don't think I've even bought anything online or anything at all. So if you had your stash in this year and have been participating all year, great. Then all you have to do is get your new stash in by December 31st, and you're ready to go for next year. And just like this year, it'll be a year-long challenge, and it'll just be whatever you finish with your stash. And I think that's all I've got for you today. I don't know how long I've been going. I didn't even check the time. But I did have a bit more to chat with you about this week because I did start a few projects and I finished a couple of projects. But like I said, I am going to try and start recording weekly. And and if it's just 20 minutes, that's fine. If it's just a kind of an update on life and what have you, then that's what it'll be. And maybe I will do some like on location or just little snippets from my phone. I'm not exactly sure. We'll just see how it goes. But I do want to start doing a weekly podcast again, and that is my ultimate goal, at least through the winter. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I hope to talk to you next week. I hope you're knitting blooms. Bye for now.
As always, thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Please feel free to contact me with your comments or suggestions, as I am always trying to improve the show. You can find me on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube as Blooming Knitter. You can also find me on Plurk, Twitter, and Pinterest as Blooming Knitter, but I don't frequent those sites as often. I post show updates on Twitter and Facebook, and sometimes to Google Plus and Plurk. I am Miss Aerobics on MyFitnessPal and Fitbit. You can always find all the old episodes as well as links to the tutorials on the blog at www.knittingblooms.com. And you can also follow the show on Facebook. You can email me at knittingblooms@gmail.com, and show notes can be found at knittingblooms.com.